Hello everyone. We have taken our test 1, that was physical principles of geography. When we talk about that particular topic of our general studies syllabus paper 1, it is something that is related to a very elementary, very basic part of geographical study. It covered two very important segments that basically creates the foundation of our understanding of our surroundings. After taking that test, we have actually judged what exactly is our stand, and we require to get into which orientation of revision so that we are not getting stuck up when it comes to our coming prelims examination. Now keeping an eye on our next scheduled test, which will be based on map questions. The test is also entitled map based test. Now what exactly is the purpose of taking a dedicated test towards map orientation? I'll not say that the number of questions that have started coming in our prelims examination is majorly oriented towards map. But there are many types of questions that have been there in our question paper, specifically starting in from 2014 prelims onwards. Let it be 1, 2, maximum 3, 4 questions that are coming up. I'm combining both world map as well as Indian map. Now you see the type of questions that have been there, something that is related to location, something that has been important because it came up in the newspaper for last 1 year or so. How to handle these type of topic? Because these type of topics don't give us anything much defined for comprehend, learn. It's basically that these are facts and I need to retain these facts to precisely solve out the question. Longitudinally, Delhi will be nearest to which city, and choices given. Or when I take questions like Himalayas spreads in this number of states, I need to be actually aware of those things. Tropic of Capricorn passes via which of the following countries? I need to be aware of it. What is the best approach by which we can actually orient our preparation so that these factual things are managed and managed that way that of course we cannot predict the type of questions that will be asked in examination, but what is the way I should manage it so that if such question comes in, I am in the position of answering it. We need to organize our approach of study here. Normally what we do is that when we try to prepare such type of heads, we take a systematic approach. What is the systematic approach? I pick up say mountain of world and try to enlist all the mountains of the world and try to take, these are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 as the names of the mountains for me to remember. And when we try to approach it that way, then the bulk of information gets enlarged and it seems like, no, it is not manageable. It becomes too much for me to actually handle. What do I suggest is that in place of going systematic with your approach, if we take a regional perspective. What is regional perspective? In place of picking up any feature, any river, any lake, any mountain, or for that matter any climatic region, you pick up one continent. Once you pick up a continent and try to justify all the major locational factors, physiographic features, including important lakes, including important international boundaries that have got its recognition in global perspective, things becomes manageable. And when you try to approach it in that regional perspective, you are actually catering your requirement even on the systematic front. Like say I have opened up map of North America and I encounter an island in the Arctic Ocean region. Politically it belongs to Denmark. I am talking about Greenland. Of course, when I'll talk about North America and Greenland is encountered, I'll mention that Greenland is the largest continental island on the map of world. And as I continue with the sequence of the reference, it's Ellesmere, it's Baffin Island that are right there as among the major islands on the map of world. So it is not that we'll be ignorant about what is the global perspective or global dimension of the study, but the things becomes much more enlarged and things becomes much more manageable. That is the reason regional perspective of preparation is what is always advised. And we are dedicating this particular class in comprehending two major regional accounts of two continents of habited world. We will be picking up South America and North America in this particular video. Now what you need to understand is that our focus is on both political as well as physical dimensions of these two continents, because it will create a bulk of information. So it is always advisable that we take the divide, and that is the reason first two continents and then eventually we will be adding the other continents one by one in the same sequence. So let us get going. We are beginning with our study of map locations, largely conventional, on map of South America and North America, including both political and physical constituents, and mind it will be very clearly related to map based questions, wherein I'll be talking about conventional items repeating. Dynamic items becomes easier for us to handle if I am favorably aware of what is the locational characteristics. So let's get going with our detailed map study. Right, if I have to begin with the study of this first continent of ours, that is continent of South America, what we can easily notice is that in this particular continent we can easily pick up the two prominent latitudes. Now carefully understand them and highlight them. I am highlighting first equator, and once I highlight equator, what I am noticing that equator is passing via few defined countries in South America. Now which are these countries that are passing, that has got equator passing via it? I can notice it is Ecuador, it is Colombia, it is Brazil. So the countries via which I mark the movement of first important latitude in South America is Ecuador, Colombia and Brazil. Mind it, when we highlight it as equatorial belt, we define very important characteristics of latitudinal location determining the prevailing climatic conditions. One more important thing before I take a step further, the boundary or international border that I see between Colombia and this particular country, this country is Panama. We'll be talking about Panama separately later. If I take this particular part, if I slightly more zoom in, this country called Panama shares international boundary with the country Colombia, which we have already said is involving equator passing through it, as we have highlighted. Once I have to take the reference of the distinction, what I'll say is, till Panama I am with Central America, and from Panama, once I touch Colombia, I have begun with South America, which we are willing to study right now. So the distinction that I draw between Central America and South America goes with international boundary between Panama and Colombia. Number one thing. Number two thing, if I have to take the reference of the boundary here, I'll insist on narrow arm of land that tends to interconnect two bigger mass of land, and thus Isthmus of Panama is not at international boundary. Be very clearly informed, it's not at international boundary, rather it is at this narrow point where we have Panama Canal. And mind it, this is the location of Isthmus of Panama. I have mentioned point 1, that is Panama is Central American country and that it shares its international boundary with South American country, name is Colombia, that the international boundary is not synonym to Isthmus of Panama. Isthmus of Panama is this narrow part of land where we have developed what is called Panama Canal. We'll be talking about Panama Canal in details. Let us take this point of clarity as third important fact in our introduction to map of South America. Fact 1. Panama is Central American country. Fact 2. Panama shares international boundary with Colombia. And fact 3, that Panama has Isthmus of Panama, narrow arm of land which connects to bigger landmass, that is Central and South America. And Isthmus of Panama has got Panama Canal. Now if I have to quickly pick up the reference details of Panama Canal before we go back to our location of South America. So Panama Canal is extensive from Caribbean Sea to this location. This is the water which is called Panama Gulf. And this automatically means that we are interconnecting Atlantic Ocean and Pacific Ocean. Another important thing that we can correlate with this is that once we take the reference of characteristics of Panama Canal, it is considered to be the fourth major trading route of the world as of today. And another important thing that we can add on with this characteristics or the Panama Canal characteristics altogether, I'll say it is incorporating, it is characterized with some 12 to 26 meters of height above mean sea level and thus have got 3 locks to it. Important facts, quickly repeating, try to revise. We are talking about Panama the country. Panama the country is Central American country. This country is located with international boundary Colombia. I am not talking about Central America right now, so I am not mentioning the name of the country there. If I have to enlarge its characteristics, I will say along Isthmus of Panama, I have got Panama Canal that connects Caribbean Sea with Gulf of Panama. Right here we have Gulf of Panama because it is the fourth major trade route of the world which has got elevation above mean sea level and in that order has got 3 locks related to it. So Isthmus, the narrow arm of land that connects 2 major landmass, is no longer there because we have created Panama Canal in place of it. Okay, if I continue with the reference of the same point and I zoom out to talk about latitudes one more time. So, equator as our first prominent latitude is passing via Ecuador, Colombia and Brazil. 0 degrees latitude, geographical equator. Is this sufficient when we talk about South American latitudinal map? No, we also have possibility of second important latitude, and what is that? Highlighting it. 23.5 degrees south, Tropic of Capricorn. And once I highlight Tropic of Capricorn, see it for yourself. I quickly change the color so that it becomes easier for us to notice. It's Chile, it's Argentina, it's Paraguay, and it is Brazil. Brazil thus makes the example of the country that has got both Tropic of Capricorn and equator passing through it. And I am repeating the names of the countries. It's Chile, Argentina, Paraguay, and Brazil. So in regards to latitudes for this continent, I take it to be 2. 1 equator, 0 degrees latitude that divides our globe into 2 equal parts, and Tropic of Capricorn, that is 23.5 degrees south. So taking the details of political map further, we can easily now notice that there are certain countries on map of South America which makes example of landlocked countries. And carefully notice the landlocked countries on the map of South America. The landlocked countries on the map of South America are Bolivia and Paraguay. When I talk about Bolivia and Paraguay as the two countries which are landlocked in this continent, I very clearly mean they don't have any shoreline. They are bounded by land. And then you can start making up the expressions or demarcation. Bolivia shares its international boundary with Chile, Argentina, Paraguay, Brazil, and Peru. Bolivia shares its international boundary with Brazil, Peru, Paraguay, Chile, and Argentina. If you have to pick up this very clearly, it will give you the understanding of locational characteristics in much more ease. We are right now handling political map, and we have selected two things there. Number one, that Bolivia and Paraguay have got landlocked status. Landlocked status with Bolivia sharing international boundary with the countries as Brazil, Peru, Chile, Argentina, and Paraguay. And Paraguay in comparison is sharing its international boundary with Bolivia, Brazil, Argentina. So facts to be retained. I am counting the countries with which Paraguay shares international boundary. So Paraguay, the landlocked country, has its international boundary 1 Brazil, 2 Bolivia, and 3 Argentina. And if I have to pick up Bolivia as my next case, Bolivia in comparison shares international boundary with 1 Brazil, 2 Peru, 3 Chile, 4 Argentina, and 5 Paraguay. If political map has to be taken into consideration beyond, what exactly we need to apply into our understanding is rest all the countries of South America has got its shoreline with Pacific Ocean. If I have to pick up the characteristics of South America in this particular point, what I'll notice is, as I said just few minutes back, you can notice the locational characteristics here. Bolivia shares international boundary with, see, notice carefully, Argentina, Paraguay, Brazil, Peru, and Chile. And Paraguay shares international boundary with Bolivia, Brazil, and Argentina. Now if you have to take the reference of the location of water body related countries, so you can easily apply on the locational factors. I'll have Chile, Peru, Ecuador, Colombia. Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, Chile are the countries that are located along Pacific shoreline. Atlantic shoreline will have larger number of countries. You have to start one by one. Venezuela, Guyana, Suriname, French Guiana, Brazil. We have taken Brazil already. And once I come to the map after Brazil, it will be Argentina and of course Uruguay. All the countries on the map of South America have got shoreline, barring the exception of two countries, Bolivia and Paraguay. The countries that have got its shoreline with Pacific Ocean includes Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, Chile. And the countries that have got their shoreline with Atlantic Ocean has Argentina, Uruguay, Brazil, and the smaller size northern countries, and we should be informed about them. And slightly zooming in one more time, it is French Guiana, Suriname, Guyana and Venezuela. Locational factors to be quickly revised. What we have learned in our study of South American maps so far. We have learned two important things, quickly removing all the factors, and then you are trying to pick up the reference of details, what we have tried to learn. So, zooming it out, which are the important facts that we have taken for this map of South America? The important facts that we have taken about this map of South America in terms of its location includes: number one, Tropic of Capricorn passes via this continent, and the countries that includes this passing up of this important latitude is Chile number one, number two Argentina, number three Paraguay, and number four Brazil. When I count equator into reference, then the countries which are having this important latitude passing is Ecuador, Colombia and Brazil, making Brazil the country that has got both equator and Tropic of Cancer passing through it. Largest country of this continent, Brazil has got its entire shoreline with Atlantic Ocean. All the countries in this continent are with shoreline, barring the exception of Paraguay and Bolivia. Paraguay shares international boundary with three countries, namely Brazil, namely Bolivia and namely Argentina. In comparison, Bolivia shares international boundary with Peru, Brazil, Paraguay, Chile and Argentina, 5 countries. Colombia has its international boundary with Panama, and we talked about Panama Canal. Now, in order to learn one very important factor about this particular continent, we go to the defined physical map and analyze. I hope we are noticing that beyond location, what we need to be taking into reference for the continent. So, this continent is comprised of all the major features that we can notice. Entire western part of the continent goes with mountains, which are considered to be the lengthiest chain, and I repeat, it is lengthiest chain of young fold mountains. And when I am saying lengthiest chain, remember it is not synonym to highest. So the name of the mountains are Andes, and we call them Andean Cordilleras. Remind yourself of the fact that when I talk about Cordilleras, I am talking about parallel running mountain ranges. What is meant by parallel running mountain ranges is that I have got the, I am zooming it in, so we have got the mountain ranges that are defined to be running from, you are aware of the names of the countries, apply it. We are having the mountain range running from Venezuela, via Colombia to Ecuador, Peru, Bolivia, Chile and Argentina. Andes or Andean Cordilleras are identified to be the young fold mountains of world. These young fold mountains makes most important physiographic unit of this continent. It is with these young fold mountains that we can correlate other physiographic units also. Before we proceed, a point of reminder one more time. Which are the countries with which I am correlating Andean Cordilleras? So Andean Cordilleras relates with number 1 Venezuela, number 2 Colombia, number 3 Ecuador, number 4 Peru, number 5 Bolivia, number 6 Chile, number 7 Argentina. And as soon as I come to Argentina's Andean Cordilleras, I need to take Patagonia Plateau as my important reference. What is Patagonia Plateau? Patagonia Plateau makes example of a Piedmont Plateau, which is located at the foot of the mountain. So if this is my mountain, I take foot of the mountain as my Piedmont Plateau. So Patagonia is at the foot of the mountain and is considered to be a significant constituent of these mountain cordilleras. Is there any other physiographic unit that can be applied as major one for this continent? I'll say yes. And what is that? It is right here. Largest river of the world, Amazon. Amazon has got its basin called syllabus. Apply your knowledge of location and distinguish. River Amazon is considered to be the largest river of the world. Now it is largest, not lengthiest. Because river Amazon correlates its source from Peru. You can recognize Peru here. So if I am being asked the question about Amazon basin includes which countries, so automatically your answer should include Peru, Colombia, Venezuela, Brazil. I hope you are noticing it. Maximum of Amazon plain is without any doubt in Brazil. But which are the countries with which we correlate? Amazon basin. Amazon basin, the basin or the plain created by the largest river of the world, has its maximum extension in Brazil, agreed. But which are the other countries where we have its extension? It is Venezuela, it is Colombia, it is Peru, and I hope you are noticing Amazon, tributary, Bolivia, Amazon, Colombia, Venezuela, and of course Brazil. Principal physiographic unit on the map of South America is Andes and second is Amazon basin. If I have to go with the other physiographic unit on this continent, I'll say it is Brazilian highland, mineral resource rich plateau. And what type of mineral resources we apply here? The mineral resources that you can apply with this plateau is largely ferrous, iron. Where it is confined, it is essentially confined in Brazil. Another important plateau that can be noticed is plateau of Borborema. Plateau of Borborema is located in northeastern part of Brazil, and it is a basaltic tableland. Basaltic plateau. I am repeating. Which are the major physiographic units that we correlate with South America? The physiographic units that we correlate with South America includes Andes Mountain, call them Cordilleras, Amazon Basin, Brazilian Highland, Patagonia Plateau, and not to miss out, let us take this also, Guiana Highland. And if you are talking about Guiana Highland, you can easily take, I am extensive in Venezuela, I am extensive in French Guiana, I am extensive in Guyana. So you need to take the demarcation of them. So quickly listing which are the plateaus that we can take as example of physiographic unit on map of South America. The plateaus that we have incorporated includes Brazilian Plateau, Guiana Highland, Patagonia Plateau. And what are the plains that we can take into account? Amazon Basin, and don't miss to see Gran Chaco and Pampas. Zooming in. Gran Chaco, are we noticing this country? I hope you will recognize it very well now. Gran Chaco is applied where? Gran Chaco is applied in Paraguay, Argentina. And where is Pampas? Argentina. Gran Chaco Plains, Pampas Plains, Amazon Plain. Which are the prominent examples of plateaus? Prominent plateaus incorporate Plateau of Borborema, Guiana Highlands, and also Patagonia Plateau. Any other important thing that we can correlate with this map will be identified as minor physiographic unit. Minor in the sense that they don't have that much of the geographical extension to be highlighted as these mountains, etc., but are important. And which are they? Zooming in here, are we noticing Lake Titicaca? Lake Titicaca is related to Bolivian Plateau. Bolivian Plateau makes example of Intermontane Plateau, and it is world's highest navigable lake. So when you try to revise the physiographic features of this particular continent, just try to understand that we need to pick up the important facts correlated to them. Divide them into categories. What are the categories that we can divide them into? The location, the relief features, and I must not close down without referring few more before I go there. If I have to take the reference of minor physiographic details, I can take the excellent example of, I am zooming in, can you notice the flow of river Amazon? And right here, this is the peninsula that I have demarcated, because here we have got another river mouth, and this is mouth of river Amazon. Such mouth of river Amazon correlates with the area that I have shaded is it's a peninsula called Marjao Peninsula, Idi Marjao, and I can notice that river Amazon has got estuarine delta. River Amazon, the largest river of the world. Amazon forest fire is the reason it becomes important, is having equatorial rainforest called selvas, has got estuarine delta, and Marjao Peninsula, which is considered to be the peninsula developed in between Tocantins River and Amazon River. Anything else that we can zoom in and talk about here is Venezuela, Lake Maracaibo. It's a saltwater lake which has got crude oil rich assets. Right here is Lake Maracaibo. And I want to quickly repeat which are the major physical features that I see with this continent. It's Andean Cordilleras, it's Patagonia Plateau, it's Brazilian Highland, Guiana Highland, Bolivian Plateau. Which are the prominent plains? Amazon Basin, Pampas and Entre Rios. Which are the minor physiographic features for us to be aware of? Lake Titicaca, the highest altitudinal navigable lake. Lake Maracaibo of Venezuela, which is crude oil rich saltwater lake. Idimarjo Peninsula, which makes example of advancing shoreline developed with river Amazon and a neighboring river called Tocantins. An estuarine delta of river Amazon. Prior to that, we talked about what is the locational characteristics of the continent, and quickly reminding there are only two countries that are landlocked in this particular continent, and I hope you can easily give me their names now. I've repeated it so many times, I think it should come clear. This is Bolivia and this is Paraguay. Only two landlocked countries. Right, now taking North America into our reference, we want to pick up the locational factor to it. So remember one thing before anything else, that when I say continent of North America is the third largest continent of world, I by default include Central America with it. Otherwise, technically speaking, what is North America? North America is comprised of three countries, Canada, USA and Mexico. But because North America considered to be the example or is third largest continent as we always come across, read, I need to take it in reference to what? That when I pick up North America as third largest continent, Central America is part and parcel of it. Which are the important latitudes that passes via it? So I have Tropic of Cancer, carefully see, passing via Mexico. It just touches Cuba, zooming in slightly, and also traverses via Bahamas. Mind it, Cuba and Bahamas are called Caribbean islands. They are part and parcel of Central American island countries. Central American island countries includes big list of countries. So if I ask you to see it in concentration, Central America is divided into two parts, mainland and islands. If I emphasize on mainland, the countries like Belize, Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, Nicaragua, Costa Rica and Panama which we have explored quite in details. So if I have to pick up, Panama is sharing its international boundary, so it is Colombia and Costa Rica. Which are the islands that are considered to be part and parcel of Central America? The islands which are considered to be part and parcel of Central America includes Cuba, Jamaica, this is the island Jamaica. This island is called Hispaniola, which is divided into two countries. You can notice Dominican Republic is mentioned here, which is this part, and the western part is an independent country, and that is called Haiti. And of course Bahamas. So when I take Tropic of Cancer is passing via what? So it is only touching Cuba, you can notice, and it passes via Bahamas. So the country mainland via which I see Tropic of Cancer passing by, it is only Mexico. And what else we have taken into reference? Central American countries. Which are Central American countries? Divided into two categories. Mainland countries, extensive from Guatemala to Panama, and island countries, which includes, quickly removing it so that it becomes neat here, Now, which are the Central American countries that we take into account as island countries? It is Cuba, Bahamas, Jamaica, Haiti, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico. And of course, you can see Trinidad and Tobago with the island arc that goes like this. We call them Lesser Antilles. I don't think you need to get into that much of the details. If I zoom it out and talk about another important latitude in terms of its location, so it is Arctic Circle. An Arctic Circle node is passing via only Canada. And once I take that it is in North America passing via Canada and Greenland, and I talked about it earlier, Greenland means Denmark. The island that I am shading out now is called Baffin Island. And I mentioned earlier that if I take Greenland and Baffin Island, I am actually talking about largest island of the world, Greenland, and this Baffin Island is called fourth largest island of the world. So, Alaska, the part of United States of America, Canada, the independent country, and Greenland, which is politically part of Denmark, involves Arctic Circle traversing. So, two major latitude passes via North America, Tropic of Cancer and Arctic Circle. Tropic of Cancer majorly relates to Mexico, beyond that Bahamas. And Arctic Circle is Alaska, that is USA, Canada and Greenland. Added to it, Greenland is the largest island of the world, and Baffin Island makes example of fourth largest island on the map of world. Beyond location, if I have to talk about any important thing on this map, I'll say international boundaries. So the first thing for us to notice is 49 degrees north latitude, 141 degrees west longitude, and Rio Grande River. Before I elaborate, international boundary between Mexico and United States of America is drawn by river Rio Grande. International boundary between USA and Canada is drawn by 49 degrees north latitude. An international boundary between Canada and Alaska is at 141 degrees west longitude. These are the important cardinals, but this doesn't suffice. So one more important thing that we can take in terms of location will be Great Lakes. And if I have to first quickly name them, this lake which I have just shaded is called Superior. This lake which I am now shading is called Michigan. This lake, Huron. Erie, Ontario. These lakes makes Great Lake of North America. And if I have to pick up these lakes and try to distinguish them, remember one thing very prominently. I am removing the shading of the lake so that it becomes neat, and carefully understand. International boundary between USA and Canada apart from 49 degrees north includes Lake Superior, Lake Huron, Lake Erie and Lake Ontario. Michigan is completely in United States of America. Another important thing that you should be aware of, this is the river. This river is called River St. Lawrence. St. Lawrence River is one of the most utilized river when it comes to international trade route, and it is right there in Canada. Zooming it out, which are the important things that I need to take in terms of location? North America. Mexico, USA international boundary is Rio Grande River. 49 degrees north latitude is international boundary between USA and Canada, along with Great Lake. These lakes which forms international boundaries: Superior, Erie, Huron, Ontario. Michigan is in USA. And 141 degrees west longitude is an important thing. Central America is by default considered to be part of North America, and it is with Central America that North America becomes the third largest continent of the world. Greenland is the largest island of the world. Baffin is fourth largest island of the world in terms of their geographical size. Now, if I have to pick up the characteristics of physical map of North America, I'll very clearly say, just like South America, North America is predominantly known for its western mountains. So all Alaska, western Canada to Mexico, I have got young fold mountains, and these young fold mountains are called western cordilleras. We very popularly call them Rockies, but you need to understand that Rockies is only one of the mountain range. Western Cordilleras makes young fold mountain and the dominant physiographic unit of this continent. Beyond that, the other physiographic unit, slightly zooming in here, is Appalachian Mountains and Canadian Shield. Canadian Shield incorporate Labrador and Laurentian Plateau. Dominant plateaus on this continent will not just include Labrador Plateau, Laurentian Plateau and Canadian Shield. It will also include, and basically they are more important in terms of their economic significance. Just zooming it this much that all of them are visible, can we notice Columbian Plateau in USA, Colorado Plateau in USA, and Mexican Plateau in Mexico. All these are examples of intermontane plateaus. And I am repeating by zooming it out. Which are the major physiographic units that I see on this map of this continent? The major physiographic units that we see on this continent map includes, one by one demarcating them. It is Canadian Shield that makes example of the plateau of this country. It is Labrador and Laurentian Plateau. They, like Brazilian highland, is old ancient plateaus and known for their mineral resources. Among the other plateaus of this continent, it is USA and Mexico that becomes important. So which are the other plateaus that we can apply in this continent? It includes Columbia Plateau, Colorado Plateau, Mexican Plateau. And which is the prominent mountain range that we take up into account? So mountain ranges, Western Cordilleras, Alaska, Canada, continue south, USA and Mexico. Is United States of America not having any other mountain? It do have. This is Appalachian. The important thing without which we should not close down as factual details of the point. So if you can see right here, and then we can go to the easier map after this. We talked about Isthmus of Panama. I have enlarged it, so carefully see it. This was the location of Isthmus of Panama, where we have dragged Panama Canal. And can we notice this isthmus? This isthmus is called Tehuantepec. Lies in Mexico. And actually you need to understand this. From Isthmus of Tehuantepec to Isthmus of Panama, this entire block can be considered to be Central America. Mind it, a part of it, shading it here, is Mexican territory. So from Isthmus of Tehuantepec to Isthmus of Panama, I have got Central America, mainland. Isthmus of Panama no longer exists. Panama Canal have been dragged there, and Tehuantepec is right there, interconnecting what is called Central America with North America. Another important fact, minor fact I'll say that you can correlate is, when I read Lower California, I'm in Mexico. Lower California is peninsula that demarcates Gulf of California from Pacific Ocean. Are we noticing it? So Lower California is in Mexico, but as soon as I move here and cross international boundary, the western largest state of USA is also called California. So be cautious of what is the term that is being coming. If the term that is coming is California, I need to be cautious about it. Can relate both to Mexico as well as United States of America. But the Mexican part of California is basically this peninsula which is called Lower California, demarcating Gulf of California from Pacific Ocean. And yes, another minor thing that you must be aware of before we take the changeover, and quickly removing it so that it becomes easier. We just talked about few lakes, and now you can see these lakes easily here. It is between Lake Erie and Lake Ontario, we have Niagara Falls. And are we noticing, I attempted that in the preceding map, Superior, Huron, Erie and Ontario. Michigan is totally falling in United States of America. What we have taken in North America does is, politically it doesn't give us much trouble altogether. But yes, when I talk about its physical features, you need to keep on adding. Like right now, we have got our North Magnetic Pole correlated here. Can you notice it? It's Bathurst Island. And once we have zoomed into this part, we should also be aware of the fact that the two set of islands here, the two defined set of islands here, shading them, which are the islands I am talking about? I am talking about island this. It's called Ellesmere Island, and island this. This is called Victoria Island. We already learned Baffin Island and Greenland. So try to see all of them together. Greenland makes the largest island of the world. Baffin Island in this region is fourth largest island of the world. Another two that we have shaded into account is Victoria and Ellesmere. Victoria is 9th and 10th largest island in world. So if I have to count the islands in this region, I'll say I have got 4 major islands in terms of their size on map of world. So this can be a fact that can be learned. Bathurst Island has got North Magnetic Pole. This can be taken into account. And of course, that when we talk about the political reference of this particular map, I needed to take into account Mexico with United States of America, USA with Canada, and Canada with Alaska as the important demarcation. In regards to shoreline, I don't think it creates much trouble for us to understand that once I have to pick up shoreline here, I'll have two countries Mexico, all sharing boundary with Pacific and Atlantic Ocean. We can easily note this. So this is not that troubling task. It can be a troubling task when it comes to the Caribbean island. So be very cautious with the countries that are exclusive, like Guatemala, El Salvador, Costa Rica, Panama, Nicaragua, Honduras, Belize, mainland countries and their shoreline characteristics. This can be highlighted, you can segregate out. Like if I have to pick up each one of them, I'll say Belize is only with Atlantic. Guatemala goes with Atlantic and Pacific. El Salvador is only Pacific, that kind of point. But the major constituents, when it's taken into account, yes, it goes with both Pacific and Atlantic. Gulf of Mexico, Gulf of California, Hudson Bay are the important marginal water bodies. I hope you have not found the things to be much difficult. Of course, it was factual. There are quite load of bulk that goes up with such type of topics. But if it is managed like this, I very sincerely believe it decreases your efforts, increases your efficiency in solving out the questions that are related to math. Shed this myth that learning math is about mugging up the facts. Learning math is all about understanding the logic behind location and understanding the location behind that logic. If you try to solve it like this, it becomes not just manageable, it becomes fruitful altogether. This is what I wanted to dedicate in this particular video. I hope it is going to help you in your preparation for your upcoming prelims examination and of course what is coming right your way as second test of our scheduled test series, 9th of February, that will be map based test. All the very best to all of you.